Justin Hokanson, longtime friend. Auburn Live on 3 Sports. It is camp time, Hoke. Welcome to the show, buddy. Auburn Sports Show behind you there. I see the sign. It's almost time, ready to roll with camp. Are you excited about this camp season starting? Finally getting on the field.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you perfectly, loud and clear.
All right, good. I had a little audio issue. Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting. It's been a long couple of months where I feel like all we've talked about in the last month or two has been Auburn recruiting. So I guess it'll be a little bit different to actually talk about the team and what they're capable of and all that good stuff.
Where's your level of confidence heading into the season in comparison to last?
I mean, it's a little higher, but just because I think that there's a few more weapons offensively. I mean, I think you feel a little bit better about the offense. Although, going into last year, you thought year 2, Peyton Thorne, Hugh Freeze, you thought there was some ability there. But I think the ability at wide receiver, Cam Coleman, a year older, you feel like you shored up the offensive line a little bit. You're getting Xavier Chaplin. So you feel a little bit better about the offensive line. You feel a little bit better about quarterback. A year older Cam Coleman. You had Keandre Lambert-Smith, but now you got Eric Singleton. So I think that's sort of a trade-off. Singleton's probably a little bit better, a little bit faster. So I think offensively you feel a little bit better. Defensively, probably about the same. I mean, you trust Durkin. There's still a little bit I want to see from linebacker and interior defensive lineman, kind of what that looks like. But I think your confidence has got to be a little higher. Just because I think the offense, you're looking at the offense and going, I think that there's some weapons there to get the job done. But, one of my biggest issues is, I mean, Hugh Freeze so far in 2 years has just consistently put an inconsistent product on the field. So, like, a lot of my concerns are, yes, some personnel stuff, but I want to see a team that's put on the field that's consistent on third downs, that doesn't screw up critical plays, that doesn't turn the ball over. Like, that's the stuff that wins and loses ball games, and I just see a lot of stuff fall through the cracks in the first 2 years in terms of preparation. So I don't know what that's going to look like. Hugh Freeze is still the head coach, and so I want to see some of that get cleaned up before I really think, okay, this team has turned the corner. There's some better talent, but they've got to be better prepared going into some of these games as well.
Yeah, inconsistency is a great word right there. Do you think some of that is personnel fitting scheme too? Can that cause inconsistency? I saw inconsistency in Tuscaloosa last year, and I think it in part was because personnel didn't necessarily fit scheme all the time. Do you think that maybe has been a little bit of a problem for Hugh and Auburn early on?
It probably helped contribute. I mean, I thought Peyton got too much backlash last year, but I don't think anybody would argue that he's not a perfect fit for what Hugh Freeze and them wanted and what they want to do on offense. I think Jackson Arnold appears to be a little better fit, a little bit more mobile. Certainly has the arm talent, probably a little bit better arm talent than Peyton does. So I think the fit there is pretty good. And so that can contribute to some of that, sure. I go back to last year, and I think Hugh Freeze trying to be the head coach and do all the head coach things, and then also be the primary play caller on game day, which is what he is. That's what I need to see kind of marry up. And I want to see that a little bit cleaner on Saturdays. There's just things that, that need to go from the game week to preparation to Saturday to where it's a really clean operation. I don't want to see Jackson Arnold and Hugh Freeze look like they are not on the same page after a third down botch, and you get on the sideline and you can clearly see that they're confused with each other. That's the stuff that you don't want to see.
Jackson Arnold was highly sought after coming out of high school, and we all know that he was a part of a team that suffered a lot of injuries last season. His confidence seems to have improved some since he's gotten to Auburn based off of what he has said, based off what the coaching staff has said. Do you expect to see the Jackson Arnold that everyone thought that they would see at Oklahoma, or do you think that some of those issues that we saw last year could carry over even though he has better talent around him?
That's a good question, and I think we've heard Hugh Freeze talk about that in the offseason about how he needed to rebuild his confidence, get his swagger back. We've heard Jackson Arnold say he feels more confident. We've heard him say the right things, and it sounds like he's, doing all the right things. It sounds like the team looks to him as a leader. He's a captain. But I don't know. I'm kind of like, until we see it, let's see what the Baylor game looks like. When it's tough, things aren't going their way. Let's just sort of see how that plays out. No question he's got some talent. I mean, Eric Singleton and Cam Coleman's a great place to start. and you've got an offensive line that's pretty good. Offensive coordinator last year at Oklahoma was fired in the middle of the year. He was sacked Oklahoma gave up 40, 50 sacks. I mean, that was a terrible situation. You heard Brent Venables talk about it. He was like, he didn't have a lot of opportunity to succeed last year, like in all fairness. So I think it'll take a few games. I'm sure that he's getting his confidence back. He thinks the receivers are pretty good. He likes some of the talent he has to throw to, but nothing kind of compares to going out on the field and doing it. Like, go to Baylor first game and win on the road and watch where his confidence is. That's the stuff that can get his confidence up. Go to Oklahoma, and that's going to be a tough game. Maybe you win, maybe you don't, but play well. That's the stuff that'll really build his confidence. But I think he's gotten back to at least a decent place in terms of feeling like he's a really good quarterback. And look, Hughes talked him up. I mean, Hughes said all the right things in the postseason about how good he is, Gatorade Player of the Year. He's got a lot of talent. So he's certainly getting a lot of encouragement from the staff in terms of what he's capable of, and that probably feels good.
Listen, I know I've worked for parent companies before too. One of the things I love the most about On3 Sports is your player, the NIL valuations. I'm interested, before I ask you my NIL valuation question. Do you ever get feedback from coaches, assistant coaches, people that handle recruiting, foot on the ground? I wonder if any of your people like you're at Auburn, other places, do coaches ever say, hey, tell your boys at On3 they're costing me money by doing these valuations?
No, I don't hear about it. I mean, I think agents are a big part of that. A lot of the On3 evaluations, some of it's kind of agent talk, some of it's social media, and they just try to sort of figure it out. I think that's something that'll take a few years to sort of hone in to try to figure out those valuations, but it's never going to be dead on. To me, agents are the bigger issue, because agents will talk to anybody in the media. They'll put out whatever number they want to put out, and that will inflate things and make things harder to deal with when it comes to creating deals. So no, I haven't received any feedback. I think the agents sometimes getting numbers out can really make things messy, because then you have a coaching staff going back and saying, wait a minute, we just saw this report, you're asking for this. Some school offered you this. Like, wait, what? Like, well, this is not what we talked about privately. And so I think agents will mess these numbers up some, because they're in it for the players, obviously, and for themselves.
Yeah, bring it up because On3 put out their top 100 on their valuations, and not only were there a couple of Auburn basketball players on there, the Jackson Arnold number was there, but also left tackle, which I saw that, and I try to tell my kids. I mean, it's not always true, but my buddy bought a $275 pool golf cart. I paid $110 for mine. His is a lot better than mine. I always feel like you get what you pay for. The left tackle at Auburn looks like he's going to be pretty good. He's on that list.
Well, I haven't seen it. Sorry, I've been busy. What's he at? What do they list him as? What's his valuation?
It's either 1.3, 1.7 million, but he's one of the higher left tackles on that list. That's probably a little low. That's probably a little low. Oh, almost spit my water out.
A tad low is what I would say. That's pretty close, but I would say that number is even a tad low. But it's all. I mean, all this stuff is what you need. If you're Auburn and you need a left tackle, you got to shore up your line. That dude's worth a lot more to you than he is to a school that's got a solidified left tackle. So it's all about the market. Jackson Arnold. I mean, it's all about what does a school need. That's why some of this stuff is so inflated, because the pressures to win, the pressures on these coaches to win, these fans, boosters want to win. And if a school's willing to pay this guy X because they really need a left tackle, good for the player. It could be a tad inflated, but if that's what they need, that's what they need. I mean, it's no different than a housing market. You're like, that's not worth it, but it is what it is. If somebody's going to pay it, then somebody's going to pay it, and that's what it is. So, I mean, that's probably a tad low for what I would say Auburn committed resource-wise to Chaplin.
In terms of where Auburn currently stands recruiting-wise, there have been a lot of questions and a lot of confusion regarding the House settlement and Auburn's lack of success on the recruiting trail up until they picked up a couple of commits recently. But where do you think they stand? Do you think they're starting to pivot? Do you think that they have more clarity? Where do you think that Auburn stands with all of that?
I would say there's more clarity in that there's almost less clarity. Like, some of the stuff we've heard recently about, It looks like collectives may be able to still operate the way they have in the past. That was a concern. You know, the CSE put out the thing saying you got to be a business, you got to offer the same stuff to the general, but now it looks like maybe that's not the case. So like there's information that keeps coming out that on one hand makes it more confusing, but on the other hand can create more clarity because more information will help you get the bigger picture. So I don't know if they've pivoted yet. Like I don't know if there's been a big pivot yet. I still think we're just about to get into August, which is when written offers can be put down and you can start to see what schools will actually be willing to put on paper. And then Auburn can start to see, are schools going to back up what they were saying the last 3 months? You'll start to see some of that. And then I think the month of August, I think, is when Auburn internally will start to go, okay, where do we pivot? Where do we pivot to? Schools are actually backing up their verbal offers with these written offers, or schools are putting these written offers out, but the way they're structuring it, whether it's maybe they're promising more NIL and less rev share, and so Auburn says, okay, well all right, now we know a number, let's structure it differently. I think the month of August is where internally they'll have a lot of clarity. I don't know that there's been a big pivot yet. The collective thing's interesting because I know that on to Victory, for instance, I know that they've sort of been told to stand by the last couple of months by the administration. Just sit back, because they didn't know. I mean, collectives, are you going to be able to operate like normal? Do you have to start offering these services to the general public? And so that, like, we're not sure right now where that's at. So, like, I know On to Victory's kind of been told to just sort of stand back, and which is in line with what the administration said in terms of we're just going to kind of wait and see. I know that they think another big part of thinking through this is the rosters for next year. Theoretically, to me, you should start to see recruiting rankings. There should be more fluctuation, because if Auburn's looking at next year's roster, they should be going, we think we can bring Jackson Arnold back. We think we can bring Cam Coleman back. We think we can bring Jay Crawford. Or if they think they can bring the majority of the roster back, well, that's going to cost a lot of money.
Yep.
And so they got to figure that out before they can even commit resources to the recruiting class. They got to go, what's our roster next year? What do we anticipate that costing? Now, what can we put towards the recruiting class? Because if we commit too much to the class, well, we can't bring the roster back we want. And so, like, every team should start to look different. Some team might say, we're losing 40 dudes, so we have a ton to put towards the class. Like, there should start to be a little bit of difference based on what you're going to bring back roster-wise. So that's something else to sort of think about, where maybe a team finishes 20th in recruiting, but it doesn't necessarily mean they didn't recruit well. It could mean they're committing a ton of resources to their roster to come back, and they just wanted to pick and choose and get a few guys in the class, if that makes sense. So yeah. I think August we'll start to maybe see internally if they need to pivot or not, but I think there's still a lot to sort of learn and a lot of different ways to look at this.
Yeah, it's like the Detroit Lions are young and talented, and everybody's under contract. They're not big shoppers in the free agent market. If you lost a lot of players, you're out shopping in the free agent market. I'll save the question about Serbian basketball for her. My last question on football is a little shift in the betting line for the Baylor game. Money line, it's about a pick 'em. This is the most important game for Auburn football since when? I mean, take out Iron Bowls. They're all huge. Biggest game for Auburn since, and I know I put you on the spot here, but it seemed, I asked the question because this seems pretty big to win this one on the road to get this thing started off right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I could pick a game, just because you got to take into account the circumstances of year 3 for Hugh Freeze and the pressure there. Harsin didn't make it to year 3. So, you know, where do you go back to saying it's sort of a defining game for a coach in his tenure to start to turn the tide? I mean, I don't know where you go for that game. It's pretty big, and it's even bigger because you come home, you play 2 games you should win, right? Mercer, South Alabama, and then you go at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M, Georgia at home. If you don't beat Baylor, you are. You're staring at 2 and 4 potentially. And you wouldn't even necessarily be a bad football team. If you lost at Baylor and then lost at OU, Texas A&M, and Georgia at home, you could be 2 and 4 and go, we're not even bad. That's a pretty hard stroke. So the Baylor game's big in that regard. It's not a conference game. You still got to have a good conference record, but it's big in that regard too, because if you're 2 and 4, or if you're 2 and 3, the noise going into the Georgia game And then if you lose that, the noise, the hot seat stuff will be really, really loud. And so the Baylor game, winning that game will relieve that, because then you could be 3-0. And then you got some tough games. Yeah, we get it. But at least you have one big win in your belt as you get into October. So it's kind of big in that regard, because I think those 3 SEC games they start with are going to be really hard to win. I mean, really tough.
I think I do want to hear your thoughts on the basketball team, because it is a new roster, aside from Todd Pettiford. But Hugh Freeze at Media Days, this is my last football question. Hugh Freeze at Media Days said his thoughts are the potential for this roster is limitless. What do you think in the eyes of, the outside eyes, which at the end of the day, outside opinion, how much does it matter? But how many wins do you think that Auburn needs to have for there to be confidence instilled in Hugh Freeze in the eyes of the fan base? What would be considered a success to you?
At least 8. At least 8. That's my floor. And we've talked about this a lot on the show over the summer. That is absolutely my floor. 7-5, I don't think does anything to like, you're not stepping away from 7-5 and going big step forward this year. I mean, there's no. I don't really see a scenario.
7-5 win over Alabama to get to 7-5.
No, because now, but if you beat Alabama now, who are your other 5 losses if you actually beat Alabama? I mean,
a game you shouldn't lose.
You're losing some games to Missouri or Kentucky or Arkansas or Vanderbilt, or you're just, if you get to 5 losses, even if 2 of them are Georgia, Bama, you got 3 others. I just think 7-5 does nothing for you in terms of thinking you're going in the right direction. 8-4 or better does. I think, number one, it's 8-4. It's a better record by 2 games than you've had. But you probably got a pretty good win in there. And you're probably, depends on the Baylor win, but you're at least probably 4-4 in the league. Maybe 5-3. You could lose to Baylor and go 5-3. So I think 8-4 is just where it's at. You've also got this. You've got a pretty good talent. You got a pretty good roster. The other thing I go back to is the schedule. I don't think this has been talked about enough the last 2 years. I mean, I don't know what you could ask for, what more you could ask for if you're Hugh Freeze in year 2 and 3 when you're trying to build a program. Last year and this year, you get Vanderbilt, Missouri, Kentucky, and Arkansas. I mean, if you look at no Tennessee, no Ole Miss, no LSU, no Florida, no Texas. I mean, it's hard to ask for a better schedule. I know Missouri's better, and they're a good team, but and Vanderbilt with Pavia, okay, fine. But if you're a championship program, if you're Hugh Freeze and you're like we're building to win in Atlanta, you can't lose at home to Vanderbilt and go, well, they got Pavia, they're pretty good. Like that can't be where you're at. That cannot be the standard. So you have a schedule last year and this year that it's hard to ask for, I think, anything more in terms of if you're trying to be a program and get to that championship level. So for me, it's 8-4 and 4-4 at worst in the league. I mean, I don't know, the last time they had a winning record in the league was, if you took away COVID, you'd have to go back to like 18 or 17. I mean, just for an SEC winning record. So those are the numbers. Anything below that, I think with the schedule and the talent, just doesn't. It's just another middle of the road, and you're going to have boosters going, is he the answer or not? That can't happen. It needs to be abundantly clear that Hugh Freeze is the answer or that he's not the answer this year. One or the other, not in the middle.
98 days away from basketball. I see your Final Four thing behind you. Ask him the basketball question that's on the top of your mind there. I saw the video.
I mean, the
Serbian.
the 3-point shooting video.
He looked good. And he's Serbian. I just assume if you're Serbian, you're going to be good looking.
Yeah, I mean, what have you, because I believe you've been able to watch them practice or, whatever they're able to do right now a couple times.
Yeah.
What does the team look like? Because we don't know any of these guys.
Yeah, it's a brand new team. I've been a good bit, and Jovic, he came last week. He practiced some, didn't scrimmage. They're kind of giving him a little bit of rest because he was over there training and playing with the under-20 team. So he was playing and going pretty hard. It's an interesting team. Tahad makes a big difference. I was at the very beginning of practice before Tahad, so Tahad took a little time off where he trained a little bit after the combine stuff. He didn't just immediately come back and report. When he finally came back, it's a different team with him, obviously. I think Tahad, I think Keyshawn Hall, can do a lot. He's going to be massively important. I think a guy that's going to be really important is Kevin Overton. He's a guy that's got a lot of experience, played Power 4 basketball. He's a leader. He plays good defense. He's aggressive. I think he's going to be more important than you think to the overall team. I think the X factors right now are certainly Jovic, who I think they think a lot of. I could easily see Jovic starting. Elijah Freeman, the development, he's got a high ceiling, but he's coming from D2. So he's still got to, I think, to get some confidence that you can play on this level and be aggressive. Abdul Bashir missed some time. He's been injured. He's still really skinny. He can shoot, but I haven't seen enough of him to know kind of where he's at. I think there's still some development that's got to happen there. Emeka Oporum, I think, is better than they thought he'd be at this stage, the JUCO center. I think he's not nearly as raw as they thought he'd be, so that's a good sign. So I think they're going to be a team that's got offensive weapons. Obviously, where do they look like defensively? What do they look like defensively? That's always a Bruce Pearl team. They've got to get after it and lock down and play good defense. But with Tahad there, I mean, they've got the weapons. I think it's going to take some time. I don't know if this team right off the bat, I can't imagine right off the bat they're where last year's team was. Like when you're playing Arizona and Houston and Purdue and everything they've got in front of them, I mean, there's just not – last year's team was different coming into that situation. And so if they can just kind of survive the non-conference, 500-ish, win a couple of those games, I think they would be in good shape. But there's some of these new pieces just got to have time to develop. But when Tahad's leading the charge, he's sort of like Jabari in that way. Everything is elevated when he's on the floor. Like he's better, the team wants to play better with him, everything. Like he elevates sort of everything just a little bit. But I think there's still a ways to go in terms of what they're going to be. I mean, it's all new guys playing with each other. That's a lot to ask. I don't know that I've ever seen a roster where outside of one person, everybody's brand new. That's a lot to ask to try to mesh guys together and get them going. But they've got some weapons to do it. But I still think they need July, August, October, getting to practice, September. Like they still need a good bit of practice, and then there could be some bumps in the non-conference. But I think that'll sort of help sort of sharpen them a little bit.
A lot of new faces that'll try to overcome that one-game losing streak at Neville. Right? They lost the last game at Neville, right?
Don't know why.
They did. And then they made the what is it? What do they call it? Oh, the Final Four.
Yeah. All right. That's Justin Hokanson, Auburn Live on 3 Sports, the Auburn Sports Show there. We've known him for a long, long time. We appreciate you being with us, Hoke. Always a good conversation, man.
Appreciate it. Mike's on. Mike worked today.
Yeah, it did. It worked out good.